Hi, this is Sean. Welcome to GuitarReferenceGuide.com. Today we're going to talk a little bit about arpeggios. What is an arpeggio? An arpeggio is basically a broken chord. So if you were to take a chord, normally you play a chord like this. Strum the chord all at once. When you play an arpeggio, you play the chord one note at a time. The definition of arpeggio is broken chord. So you're playing one note at a time. Now when you're improvising, what a lot of people do is they play the arpeggio following the sequence of the formula that makes the chord. For example, in a G chord, the notes that make any major chord are your first, your third, and your fifth notes of the major scale. So if you know your major scale, you were to count the notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 1, that's a G major scale. The first note, the third note of the scale, and the fifth note of the scale would represent the notes that make the chord. So whenever you hear just a regular major chord, the only notes that you hear in that chord are the first interval, the third interval, and the fifth interval. In the case of G, you would have a G note, a B note, and a D note. Those are the only notes that are in that chord. So if you were to keep going, here's a G note, here's a B note, here's a D note, and here's a G note. So when you play the arpeggio in the intervallic sequence of the chord, in other words following the formula 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, it's a great way to, when you're improvising, to hit on those notes, because those are the notes that make the chord. So effectively they're the most important notes in the chord progression from chord to chord. So we're going to go through all the arpeggios in every key, every position. I'm going to play the chord, and then I'm going to play through the arpeggio. If you were to play through, to give you an example of how it could be effective if you were soloing, if I was playing a chord progression that went G to D to A. If I was to improvise through that using arpeggios, the one chord would be G, then would have the D, and then we're at the A. So you can really hear the chords in your single note lines. It represents the tonality of each of the chords in the progression really, really well. So as you're playing through a chord progression in a certain key, having a great knowledge of arpeggios is very important. It helps you stick to the harmony of the chord as it's being played within the progression. And if you get really good at it, as you're playing your single note lines, they will, in essence, be citing the chords harmonically. And I think that's a great goal to strive for. And I hope you enjoyed this segment of arpeggios.